Hello, my name is Tony Bowren. I'm a developer relations technical artist. I help companies use Unreal Engine to do everything except make video games. Today's talk is about linear animation in Unreal. Game changer. That term is used a lot. But here, I'm talking about game engines that are changing the way non-game media is made. Content can be created and edited and output faster, more affordably, and better looking than ever before. Movies, films, TV commercials, music videos, game cinematics, these are all being produced now in Unreal Engine. It truly is not just for games anymore. Who is this talk for? Well, it's definitely for animators and for game developers, but it's also for instructors and directors, basically anybody who wants to create animated content and they want to do it faster than they've done it before. But what exactly is linear animation? Well, it's content that stays the same every time it's viewed. So the opposite of linear is not nonlinear. In this case, the opposite is interactive. So if you are able to change it, then it's not linear. When can you make linear animation? You can do it today using any Unreal Engine level. Where is linear animation created? You can create it at your desk. You can create it in a motion capture studio. You can use any iPhone that now supports Face AR Kit. We're going to create some linear animation in this talk. So why would you want to create linear animation? The obvious is storytelling, but you could also use it to tell instructions, to give demonstrations, and in a game context, you could present tutorials and cinematics. So why do you want to do it in Unreal? Obvious reason is it's a beautiful renderer. It will create beautiful looking animations much more quickly than traditional rendering methods. And the tool set is expanding all the time. So there's a variety of ways that you can create and edit all inside of Unreal. So how do you go about actually making linear animation in Unreal? Well, there's 4 basic ways. First is real-time gameplay capture, or machinima. There's virtual production, like motion capture. You can do hand keyframing using control rig, or you can have a vertex cache using an Alembic file. And when you got all that done, you can export the images to disk. Sequencer. This is the heart where it all happens. In Unreal Engine version 4.12, a new tool was introduced called the sequencer. And users now had access to a window that looked more like a non-linear video editor than a game engine. For the first time, users could easily take a collection of objects in a level and synchronize their motion. Animations can then be scrubbed forward and backward and paused. Cameras can be moved, sound added. Unlike with gameplay, this would always create the same output. Since that release, Sequencer continually is actively improved, and it's getting more powerful with every release. I want to talk a little bit about the anatomy of a sequence, because there's a lot going on. So in the sequencer, there's 3 basic data types. There's the animation tracks, which are the core animation sequences that you would think of traditionally that you'd put on your characters. But you can also offset them, and you can tell it to spawn the actors, and you can transform them. But it's the bottom level, the base level of the data. Now, subscenes are a collection of those animation tracks, and they're groups, and they are layerable, and you can move them around. It's really the workhorse of a lot of the pieces. And then those subscenes can be combined into the shot tracks. And then the shot tracks, they're the highest level. They include camera work. You can edit with them. You can swap them around. This is your traditional Avid or Premiere non-linear editing tool. Now, the take recorder is where all this stuff happens. So whether you're running around with a controller or you have a motion capture suit on, the take recorder is how you get all your performances into Sequencer. You just need to add the items and actors and channels that you want to record into the take recorder interface and hit the red button. There's a 3-second countdown and you're live. The animations are automatically saved to your hard drive and you can review them, assemble them, edit them, delete them later. You can even record takes onto other takes. So while you're performing, you're seeing a reference of what you did before. So the 4 types of linear animation. Machinima. Recording an interactive session. Long before the sequencer existed, people were capturing their in-game antics for later viewing. Entire TV shows have been made with this process. Even now, productions are realizing the power of live performances. Car chases in some shows are being made with performers actually driving virtual cars and a virtual cameraman to get a much more natural feeling of the performance. And I think as more animation studios learn more about Unreal's character setups and as animation tools improve, we're going to see a lot more of this type of production. So a great way to learn more about linear animation is to actually record your gameplay yourself. So I'm starting with the third-person example map from the game launcher, and I'm going to make a few adjustments to the player character. One thing that I want to do is in the skeletal mesh, I want it to react to physics. So I want to change the collision presets to a physics actor. But I don't want it to interact with its own capsule. So I have to set the capsule to ignore the physics body. And then for fun, I'm adding 2 functions here in the event graph. If I press Z, I will set all bodies below the spinal 3 in the hierarchy to simulate physics. And if I press X, I'll set the entire body to ragdoll and simulate physics. So because we're recording all of our characters' actions, this dynamics will also be recorded. So let's check this out. If I hit play, I look at it, works around normal. But if I hit Z, the hands and the arms and the head flop about. And if I hit X, he falls to the ground. So this is perfect kind of thing that you would not want to animate by hand. And linear animation, and specifically the take recorder, it's perfect for. So what do we need to do this? Well, the first thing we need is a master sequence. I already have one here. In the master sequence, we want to do a couple things first. First, we want to clear it out so we don't have anything there. And we want to make sure that it automatically plays and that it loops. So when we create our character by hitting play, we then need to add this character to the take recorder. So with the take recorder highlighted, we select source and we choose our third-person character. Now you'll notice there's 131 properties and 6 components that make up this character. And this is what will be recorded when we hit the red button. So let's try it out. So I can run around, hit Z, arms flail about, run, jump, do it again, and then one more time. Okay, hit escape. So in the content browser, it will create the takes and the shots. And we can grab these, go to our main sequence master. We can load it up here. We can create a sub-scene track, and then we can choose these sequences and drop them in. Now it's in the sequencer. And we can move the camera, we can scrub, or hit spacebar and play, and we can play back all of the actions we did. And notice we get all the swinging of the arms and all the dynamics. So that's perfect. Now, because it's in the master sequence, and because the take recorder already knows what we want to record, if we play again, hit record again, we can record another pass, hit Z again, and our old guy is there from before, and we have a new character who's now adding and also being recorded. So we'll chase him around and hit escape. Again, with that saved, we can create a new subscene track, a new sequence, and add that. Hold on, we need to go actually do that in the sequence master. Create a new subscene track and add it to. Okay, we'll offset this a little bit and watch. So now we have two characters running around, flailing about. Now you can keep making more and more passes, but you can also select these and Control C, Control V, duplicate them and maybe offset them a little bit. And when you play, start to populate the world with even more characters. And as you offset them, it becomes less obvious that it's the same sequence. And for fun, let's do it again. Control C, Control V. Slide them even farther. Let's see here. Okay. And there we go. Now we have even more people running around. As you see, I slid it over in time, so the character doesn't pop into existence until the time frame that the actual subscene is active. But here we see quite a bit of chaos. Now, these are all in the scene. So if I once again play the character and let's see here, I take a take recorder. Because all these characters, I've recorded their physics, I can also turn on the ragdoll, and this guy will respond to all the physics actors in the scene. Now, he didn't actually go too far. Let's see. There we go. Stop that. Go to the sequence master. Can create a new subscene. Find him. Drop him in. And because we can scrub, we can find out exactly when the time frame was that he hit. And see here. We can start to build a pretty chaotic story sequence that you would never want an animator to have to do, and it certainly would take more than 6 minutes to do. So having some of that emerging gameplay and being able to quickly adjust and manipulate these assets and slide them in time, along with all of the additional data for the physics forces, it makes it for a very powerful tool. So historically, for larger studios and productions, getting on a motion capture suit and jumping around in a padded room have been very popular. Using a data pipeline known as LiveLink, motion capture suits can stream real-time data directly onto Unreal into the tape recorder and onto a character. The performers can see themselves as a character. It can investigate their range of motion and adjust their performances. And these performances can be dropped right into the final environments for immediate creative control. The feedback gives performers a great way to have context of what they're doing, where the character is supposed to be. It really helps to visualize their environment and get into their character. But performance capture isn't just for bodies now. Now with Epic's new free facial capture app called LiveLink Face on the iOS store, anyone can motion capture face and head motion right at their desk. It's based on Apple's Face AR kit, so it's very robust. I expect to see a bunch of compatible characters on the marketplace that all use this very soon. Okay, so in addition to the gameplay capture, we can just use motion capture and get animations directly in. Let's, again, use the tape recorder. 2, 1. Okay, I am now hopefully recording this just like those crazy guys running around. But this is much more sophisticated, let's just say. Okay, let's see what we got. Just like before, here I am. Face, body, everything. Recorded in Unreal. Do with whatever you want. There you go. So simple. Number 3, control rig. Keyframing on an animation rig. So in my opinion, this is Unreal Engine's most exciting new feature. It's very much like bringing Maya or Max into Unreal. Some people are excited about billions and billions and billions of polygons, but I'm equally excited about this. It's been in development for a few years and has had heavy revisions, but it's starting to shape up into a powerful tool. Control rig is a totally new way to define character animation rigs. Its current version is very powerful and can already help with a lot of your animation needs. It's at the core of a lot of the new animation functionality that's coming to Unreal. New to the marketplace is a control rig example. You can load it up, open up the level sequencer, scrub the timeline, and see him animate. There's a new mode for animations. You click on it, and your control rig's controls will all be available on the left-hand side. You can select in the world, or you can select from the menu, and your controls will highlight in the level sequencer. Here we can offset him from one chair, move and rotate him into the other chair. You can also hide and show manipulators. His manipulators are live and you can grab him, move him around. You can actually even see all the IK on his hands and feet working. If you look into the level sequencer, you see a lot less keyframes than you might expect. That's because we're only keyframing the controls, much like you would do in Maya. If you look, you can edit the curves, and this looks much more like a Maya curve editor than ever before. Now the goal is not to remove Maya from your pipeline, but if you spend a lot of time in Maya, then you'll be much more comfortable in Unreal. If we look inside this control rig, you'll see it looks very much like a blueprint. Basically, the control rig is a virtual machine designed to quickly and efficiently execute commands. You start at the begin, follow the line to the first node. Here, we're trying to set the transform on the root bone. But to do that, we need to get the control transform for the root control. Now we move on to the next step for the pelvis, for the spine, so on and so on. Every frame, all these process. It's very fast and it can be used real time on your characters in game. So with some time and some animation skills, you could put all these animations into the level sequencer and make him do whatever you need. And because his clips can live in the sequencer, it can live beside tracks from gameplay recordings or motion capture. You can mix however you need. So let's look at another example. This character was created by our technical evangelist, Andreas Zuika. When I saw this, I noticed something interesting. The tail can be rotated at the base and keep the secondary animation, but the tip has a control that follows along with it that you can also animate. Something like this can be really complicated in a traditional animation package because you don't have explicit control over what order of operations things get evaluated. In Control Rig, you do have that. So a lot of things that would be complicated are actually quite simple. Let's look at this Control Rig for this character. So here you can see all of the order of operations. It's a bit more complicated than the mannequin, but he has a lot more legs and a tail and a lot more stuff going on. So it really isn't that bad. Now, the rig is live in the scene here, and you can see it. You can separate and reconnect nodes. So it's a really fun environment to explore and to build the rigs. Now I could take this rig now and put some keys on it in the level sequencer. But I decided, because I have this facial capture live link face app, that I would put the character inside of a pawn. And I would give him an animation blueprint. And I would bring the live link pose into Control Rig. So I can take the rotation of my head and apply that to the body. And I can use an Xbox controller and read the values and send them to my animation blueprint. Those values can be piped into the Control Rig, and I can apply them in all kinds of ways. So let's hit play and see what we have. Once the physics settles, you can see my head rotation is working. I can move my controller. Move the tail, pinch, pinch, pinch. Booting up. Oh. Crazy guys. Confused. Evil. Mad. Drunk. Ah. So you can see, get quite a bit of emotion just from my head and my controller. The fourth way is an limbic cache. When you absolutely, positively cannot do it in Unreal, you can use an limbic cache to bring in your animated data. It's not my favorite, but some things just can't be done in Unreal yet. Characters that might need lattice deformations or are destructible in some fashion might need to be done in another package. But it doesn't mean you can't use Unreal. It just means it's only used for being lit textured and rendered in Unreal. It's also a great starting point for a team who might be new to Unreal, and they can slowly learn the tools and integrate more over time. And because the renderer looks good, it's still a logical choice. So once you're done, you've got your animations, you need to export them somehow. So the latest version of Unreal 4.25 has greatly improved the tile rendering and the exports supporting bloom and ray tracing and motion blur at extremely high resolutions. It keeps getting better, but there's a variety of file formats that you can use to export your content, whether it's going to TV show, internet, YouTube, wherever. So there are many, many ways that you can get different types of animation into Unreal. And as more projects start using it, the creation tools continue to expand. It has a lot of flexible stages of integration. You can use it as a renderer to your whole animation workhorse. And it uses the power of game logic to supercharge pipelines in a way that other animation tools can't really do. So thank you, and go make something move.